One transfer addiction that gets overlooked all too often is social media. And while social media has many benefits, which we definitely talk about in this episode, it certainly also poses many dangers, especially when it comes to addiction recovery and mental health. In this week's episode, we are chatting with our friends Robbie, Britt, and Vanessa about how social media shows up in our lives, in our recoveries, and its impact on our emotional and mental well being.
Welcome to Through the Glass Recovery Podcast, where we believe that connection is the opposite of addiction, vulnerability is the antidote to shame, and that recovery isn't just rewarding, but it's also a lot of fun. We're your hosts, Steve and Julie. Listen as we get together with friends to shed light on the hard things, talk about the other side of addiction, and how we create a life so full, there's no space left for alcohol.
If you're ready to take a break from social media, but you would still like to work on connecting with others, come join us on Monday nights on Zoom. We get together face to face in real time and talk about all things emotional recovery. It's a great place to connect in a meaningful way, add some tools to your sober toolbox, and get you thinking about how you can keep your recovery momentum going. All the details are in the show notes, or you can visit our website at throughtheglassrecovery.com and click on online Zoom meeting FAQs. All right. Hello and welcome to Through the Glass Recovery Podcast. I'm super happy to be hanging out today. We've got Robbie with us. He's back for like the bajillionth time. And we've also got a couple of new ladies that we haven't had here before. So I am really looking forward to hearing how this conversation goes. I think we're going to have a lot of fun tonight. So I'm going to have Robbie kick off the intros because you've done this before. And then we'll go from there.
Well, thanks for having me once again. Guess I'm not getting boring yet.
No, we love you.
True story.
I live in Rapid City, South Dakota. Days sober is 816. I am a single parent as of now. Have a 14-year-old daughter that lives with me. I am a co-host of a podcast called Golden Hour Adventures. We have people on that do crazy adventures, fun stuff like that.
Ordinary people doing extraordinary things, Robbie.
Thank you.
Come on, dude. The tagline.
That's like, do I have to say it for you?
Well, I'm glad you know it.
You're welcome.
I'm glad to be here again.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Glad to have you back. When we don't invite you back anymore, that's when you can know that you got boring.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Hell, I won't say it to you. I will do it in a really unhealthy fashion.
Okay. Then I can let the shame and the guilt set in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, of course. And then I'll await the text message.
We're so healthy around here. This is great.
This
Okay.
is a wild start today.
Yeah, this is good. Okay. Vanessa, I am going to let you go next. Do you want to tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Okay, my name is Vanessa. I am located in South Lake Tahoe on the Nevada side. I moved here about a year ago. Actually, not even a year ago. So I'm originally from the Bay Area. I am a recovery alcoholic and I am 546 days sober. So my 18 months is coming up. Yay!
Awesome.
And I was a professional relapser. I tried to get sober on my own millions of times and it just didn't stick. And finally, I reached out and asked for help. Simple message to somebody who was like a family friend. Messaged her in my lowest point, said, I need help. She was very active in AA and I didn't know what else to do. So I said, I need help. She said, let's go to a meeting tomorrow morning. I went and it's stuck ever since. So, and I'm also engaged to my sober half, who is actually one of my really, really, really good friends we were good friends for 18 plus years. We partied hard together. And he was 6 months sober when I reached out to him and said, I need help as well. So I had two people I was reaching out to, and our 18 plus years of partying friendship, once we got sober, it turned into more, and now we're engaged. So
Amazing how connection happens after sobriety. Real connection.
yeah, it was once the drunk goggles were off, we were able to see what was in front of us the whole time. So yeah.
I love that. What a good story. Oh, that makes me happy for you. And you are pretty active on Instagram. Do you want to tell our listeners where they can find you on Instagram?
Yeah, so my screen name is Sober in Lake Tahoe. And I actually made my sober Instagram when I was 6 months sober because I was moving here to Tahoe. I wanted a sober community and I didn't know how to find sober friends. So I ended up making that and started basically just documenting my journey because I wanted to see how my journey was going to progress. So you'll see lots of beautiful Lake Tahoe, me walking through the woods. I have 4 dogs. So, yeah, you'll see a lot of that snowmobiling out on the lake, just fun things to do in a sober way.
Fantastic. I love it and super inspirational. I love anybody who's getting out there, like really living life and doing all the cool adventure things without alcohol. So,
Yeah, so that's boring.
absolutely.
She's sobering out loud in the adventurous way.
Yes, I love it. I love it. I feel like we could hang out, Vanessa.
Yep.
Let's do- All right. And then last but not least, we have Britt here with us. Do you want to tell our listeners about yourself, please?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. So I am Britt Brandon, and I've been in the health and wellness industry for over 22 years, and like since I was 18. So it's been my entire life has been all about fitness and nutrition. I have like every certification under the sun, just love it. I've worked with over 10,000 women worldwide and published 23 health books and totally looked like I had my life together. And I like to say that it worked until it didn't. And so we had a lot that was going on behind the scenes. I'm a mom of 3 amazing kiddos. And we lived in a pretty tumultuous house where there was like abuse and addiction going on. And so alcohol was my numbing way out. And then so luckily 6 years ago, on September 27th, I was able to stop that madness. And we are here today living a life that is like beyond anything I ever imagined. So it's pretty awesome. And we actually have a new book coming out, and it's for women in recovery. And it's all about using faith, fitness, fun, food. I'm going to get it all blundered up now. Like,
They would have been like bees because you're Brandon, not like.
so I'll ask though if
You sell enough.
it's so funny because it's a faith, food, fun, fellowship, faith, food, fellowship,
Fitness.
sleep. So it's funny because their sleep is the only one that doesn't have an app. And so it's been like this huge thing for the past like year where everybody's been like, we have to find a synonym for sleep that starts with F. And it's impossible. So here we are.
Did you ask ChatGPT to make up a new synonym for you?
Oh, I didn't know that was even a feature.
I don't even know if it is. I'm just, throwing it out there. Or you can send me an email. I'm good at making things up. Ask Julie and Robbie.
Well, I might employ your services. Yeah.
I feel like ChatGPT needs to be a part of tonight's conversation, actually. So I'm really glad you brought that up.
You're welcome.
Yeah, because I don't know if it's actually social media, but I am definitely going to chase that tangent at some point here in the next 40 minutes.
And write down the chat
Wait.
tangent that Julie wants to go on.
Britt, thank you so much for being here. Listeners, and make sure you guys check the show notes. Go to our website. You can get the full show notes and you can get links to everything that these awesome people are doing in the recovery space. So make sure you check that out. For our topic today, social media can be a tricky thing to navigate in sobriety. It's certainly got its ups and downs that have to be figured out. So, how has social media played into your life in recovery? What have been some of the benefits? And what do you need to watch out for? anybody can dive in, and then we'll just we'll see where we end up.
I know that when I first started out, it was just everything felt really loud. Everything felt loud and intense. And so anything that I would see on social media would evoke like major emotion of like the wild, whether it was very, very positive or very, very negative. Like we hadn't come back into a normal, healthy, processing of emotion yet. So everything was just really intense. It felt like I had to take like a year away from it. And then it ended up being far more than that. And even still now, it's kind of like I can go on, but only for so long. Yeah.
That's exactly what I did. I took a year off. The day I quit drinking, I quit Facebook, and Facebook was like my social media of choice. I was like so addicted to Facebook that I knew I couldn't do sober and stay on Facebook because I would not drink, and then I would spend even more hours just scrolling and letting it mess with me. And so I committed to a year without it, and I ended up going quiet. In fact, I just made my own Facebook account like a week ago. Uh, we've had Through the Glass, and we've done some like podcasty things, but I haven't touched a personal social media account for like 3.5 years. So I'm like wading back into the social media world on Facebook anyway, for the first time in a long time. So yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah.
I know for me, like scrolling really never doesn't affect me. It's the posting for me, the sharing my life, the doom scrolling and all that. I figured out the algorithm and how to put the stuff that I want to see constantly in my feed. So I'm good on that part, but the posting, Steve and Julian, we've talked about this before, the external validation, the dopamine hit. I do not want that from social media. I have to be very careful with the dopamine hits I can take now being sober, and I won't let social media be a part of that. It's a boundary that I set up right from the beginning when I got sober. I have the podcast platform that I can use and speak my truth without stuff getting twisted in where it gets put out in social media. I don't post much on my social media. If I do, it's some adventure I'm on or something I'm sharing. Um, but that's about it where I go with social media. I just had to be, for me, MySpace was the thing, and that's where that dopamine hits, social media started hitting. And luckily for me, by the time I got sober, I was already knowing where my boundaries were with social media. So I didn't turn it off because I never had it turned on. Um, but I definitely will scroll and, look for stuff. About the only thing I really look at is Instagram. But like I was saying, I have my algorithm set up so it's showing me positive stuff that people are doing and cool stuff. Of course, there's some sobriety stuff in there. Um, but going down that rabbit hole of also where people are telling you how to live your life is not something I'm willing to deal with right now. I'm on my own terms on how to live my life, and this is all new, navigating it in sobriety. I don't need some external someone telling me how I should act and live.
We were talking about that the other night too. Like there's so many people who are inspirational, motivational speakers, people who have things all figured out for them, right? And they're sharing their story. But when you get all of this stuff like this huge barrage of life advice coming from all these different people who are supposedly experts, and then all of those pieces of advice don't really like they conflict with each other. So then you're like, oh my God, I'm supposed to have 45 things in my morning routine, and also I'm not supposed to have a morning routine, and like shit, what do I do? And like then you're like, am I doing it wrong? Should I do it? And like it starts influencing the way you do, instead of just taking a step back and honoring what really feels right for you. Like everybody is an expert in their own life. Nobody is really an expert in your life. And it was an interesting talk we had the other day, because I'm feeling that right now too, for sure.
So for me, I did not make my sober page until I was 6 months sober. I made it more as just to document my journey for me, to put the good things and the bad things on there, the good days and the bad days. Because for me, it was I didn't have anybody around my area that was sober that I can connect with. So I did make that page just so I can find other connections, hopefully in my area, to go on sober walks with. Um, when I first made that page, I did not know that I was going to meet a whole sober community. So to me, yeah, there's not a lot of people in my area who I've met yet, but like throughout the world, I've connected with people who connect with me, and it's just amazing because of the fact that like I can have real conversations with them. If they're going through tough times, then we can talk with each other about it. But it's not in a certain meeting place. So I know meetings work for some, not always for everyone. Um, so I did not expect to actually make some friendships from there. I think that's a great thing. Another thing too when navigating is that I found because sober is the new cool thing, it's kind of hard to see who you're gonna follow, because of the fact that you have people who are jumping on the sober wagon, which is awesome. And then you also have recovering alcoholics. So for me, seeing a lot of pink cloud, happy go lucky thing is just, to me, would kind of frustrate me because I would have my tough days. So for me, when I on my Instagram, I post tough times. I post how we had a neighbor come by and give us a bottle of liquor and what my response was. It's like these are real things that are happening. Being a recovering alcoholic isn't hunky-dory pink cloud 24/7. You still go through your bad days. So I think that if you're a recovering alcoholic, you want to kind of find other recovering alcoholics that can understand what you're going through versus somebody that's just on the sober fun train.
Yay, sober. Sober. That's a conversation we had recently too, and it's so valid. So I'm glad you brought that up.
I'm gonna hop on the external validation bandwagon Robbie was talking about. And for me, when we start talking about social media, I have to go back like 12 years, 13 years ago when I got promoted from being a regular on the floor worker in the factory to being a supervisor of the people that I worked with. That's when I stopped using social media. So I stopped using social media like a decade and change ago until recently. So I had 10 years where there was rarely a post that I would make on Facebook. Didn't even have an Instagram account. Wasn't a thing because I was afraid of being judged by all of the people that I worked with. That was that fear. Fast forward to early sobriety, where I began to learn that vulnerability was something that I needed to do. And instead, not being on social media, but being on an app where there is a whole bunch of other sober people. For me, it was the I Am Sober app. I would share bits of my story. Most of my story's on there. I would share bits of my story. And with the vulnerability came validation and a whole bunch of extra acknowledgement and people saying, wow, you're awesome, and all of that stuff. And that was shit I wasn't used to. Right? I was not used to being, and I'm going to use this word because I don't have a better one in my head right now, revered for the level of vulnerability that I was showing up with. And then so that continued on because it felt good. And when that felt good, so I was being rewarded, my whole dopamine system was firing, and I'd wait for the next like and the comments and all of the rest of the things. It felt awesome. And so what I had to realize and what I came to realize eventually was I had to ask myself, what is the intention of this post? What am I writing this for? What am I writing this to just share my journey, or am I creating more drama than what is really necessary? And at the time, I didn't know where that line was. It was a blurry line because I had never created drama to get that sort of attention. So it was new. I came to realize was that I had to really check myself. What is the intention of this post? Is my intention to inspire? Is my intention to just share? Like, not looking for anything outside of the fact that I just put this here and this, whatever happens, however it lands, it's going to land. And then I'm okay with it. Then I'm not looking for something outside of what I intended to give that piece away from. So when I go back to regular social media, when I hopped on Facebook and I hopped on Instagram when this podcast started, I had kind of already taught myself a bunch of those lessons because I learned it on the I Am Sober app. And so I don't get stuck. I'll get wrapped up in the odd post that I'm proud of. I'll be honest about that. Like if I'm proud and I wrote like a good post, and there's a like there, I'll hop on, and for sure I'll be chasing that for a little bit. It'll happen. But it just doesn't. I had to learn my lesson. And like learning the lesson wasn't the easiest lesson to learn.
Yeah.
Cuz to do that you have to take it too far.
So how do you balance that? Because even like right now with us, like we're in the process of like even of like posting and doing things for this new book that's coming out. And I had never been tasked with it because there were people who did this. And so this is my first experience. And because I had no social media, this is like, it's like me having social media for the first time again. My 16-year-old is teaching me Instagram. Like this is serious. So which is fantastic and fun. But at the same time, like that dopamine hit is for real. And it is like, and it's a double-edged sword because I had somebody like do a thumbs down on a YouTube video and I was like, can I find a screenshot and can I ask them why that happened? And so it's like that, like I would love to even like go down that rabbit hole of like, how do you, because this is processing things all new. Like now we're processing the feelings that are like, before it would have been like, okay, I'm going to go, have my bottle of wine now or whatever the case might be. And so it's like, oh, okay. So now we have to actually figure out like, why are we feeling these things? And and is it possible to not have that dopamine hit? Like what do we do?
You're going to get it. It's Julie, do you want to go or you go
No.
those?
Felt that so much. I really started getting active on Instagram on my personal account, so not podcast stuff, just about a year ago. And I was like, all right, I'm going to post something every day for 30 days because I wanted to start growing my account, right? And start getting my story out there and stuff. And I did that. It was I don't think you can stop it. Like that's literally what social media is made for.
It's psychologically designed to grab you and hook you, and dopamine is the most addictive thing that like we self-create this stuff. Just get hopped out on it.
It's what it's for. And my problem was like, I put out like 6 reels in a row that like got all this like super great attention and like, it was great. And I was like, oh my God, I freaking love Instagram, right? And I didn't realize what was happening at that point, but I was like, God, this is like a new hobby. This is great. There's all these good things. And then I had like 4 in a row that just sucked. And I was like, I hate my life. Everything's stupid.
The dopamine dump.
And then I was like, oh, like, yeah, like it took me a little bit to realize that's what it is. That's the dopamine. And so like Instagram, while I was on this, my 30-day commitment or whatever, it was literally dictating my moods. I would be happy if I was getting a bunch of likes and a bunch of views and all of that. And then if I didn't, I would be like, everything in my life would suck, not just Instagram. But like I was not fun to be around and I was like really blah. And like when you first quit drinking and everything just feels really blah, like nothing really feels good. That's how I'd feel. until I'd have an upswing. And it took a bit to realize, like, that this is all dopamine. That's exactly what's happening here. So as soon as I start feeling really good about stuff on social media, that's my cue. I need to take like 14 steps back and reset everything, remind myself why I'm doing this, and then come back to it. Like, I will never be a consistent social media poster because my dopamine system cannot handle it. Like, I don't know that we ever gain that much control because that's, first of all, we're alcoholics, right? So we're hardwired to chase dopamine. I don't think that's ever going to stop for most of us. And then second, we're also just human, and it is psychologically created to suck us in and make us keep chasing more and more and more dopamine. So I think the answer is, like, it doesn't get to where it doesn't affect you at all. You just have to learn to watch yourself and step back. And if it has so much power that it's taking over your moods, which I don't know if you've experienced that or not, but like that to me is when it's time to put on the brakes and go live my normal life and get the hell off of my phone for a while.
I think when we start using social media as our self-worth, that's when the negative things can happen, or the positive, right? That dopamine hit. If we are justifying our self-worth off of an app on a phone, there's some underlying issues, right? Because we're still trying to figure out who we are, what we are. Just because now we're sober doesn't mean that's going to be easy. And we should, community is great. But one thing I learned is making sure that I fill my cup and I'm not letting someone else take from my cup. And I feel, this is just me, I can put so much into social media where I empty my cup and it never gets full. Yeah, I'll get the dopamine hit, but it's like fake people out there replying and making me feel better about myself. Whereas in the sober community or in a meeting, once you get to know these people and things are good, that has meaning. Just comments out in social media land, they feel good at a time, but I'll read it and be like, who is this person? Why are they saying this? What is their intention behind what they're saying to me? And I just couldn't let my self-worth be based off of something that's, kind of just out there in nowhere land.
To validate where Vanessa's coming from with the connection piece, though, I will just say, Steve and I met Robbie on Instagram. Like, we've hung out in person now. We are like really good friends. So real connection does also come. I'm not negating what you're talking about, Robbie.
No,
But just to like, that we got to like throw out the irony there that that's how we all met too. So real connection for sure comes from social media. There's just also lots of like riffraff of comments that don't really carry any clout. And I think it's important to recognize you can get both.
I can't speak on the dopamine hit because I don't get a lot of action on my page, so I don't post consistently.
It's not a bad thing, Vanessa. Trust me. Saying
It's like I only post if I have a milestone coming up, or if a neighbor comes by and brings alcohol over, like what my reaction is. I post that kind of stuff. Like I said, it's more of a for me to document my journey so I can look back on it and see how I prepared for wine tasting with family and stuff like that. But I also have a timer on Instagram. So after an hour or whatever I have it at, it closes up. So I know not to spend a lot of time on there because I know if I were to look at it before you know it, you're scrolling and hours go by. I don't know how influencers spit out a million reels because I think I've made 1 or 2 reels, and one reel took me a very long time to try to make. I mean, I am going to be 43, so I'm not up with technology, but it's a lot of work.
I watched Steve spend 8 hours on my living room floor making a reel one time. So it is not just you. Like,
stop it. It's the best reel I've ever made.
I've like, It's so much work. I would just prefer to live my life. And if something happens to come up, then I post it on there. I'm not posting it for other people to get their likes or to get their comments. If they're able to relate with that, then that's awesome. But like I said, it's more about documenting my journey for myself.
So there she has it, her intent,
Attention.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Her intent is just to use it as a place to document her own things. And your intention was to find people that were local to you, you were using social media to help you out in your life. And you're also using the social media as a place so you can go and look back on your own things.
Correct.
If you look at just the basis in which you're using it for, it's for you for when you need it.
Yeah.
Right? It's not for someone else, or it's not to throw that out there so you can get something back from it.
Correct.
Right? And so, Britt, when you were talking about somebody doesn't give you the thumbs down, that reel that I spent 8 hours on, I posted it again this last Super Bowl because I made it the Super Bowl previous to it. And she's not wrong. I walked outside, I recorded, I wrote myself the script thing to do, and then I recorded it all, and then I went back and I made it try and look as good as I possibly could. And last year it was fine. I had a whole bunch of positive comments. This year I posted it on YouTube and I got trolled. And generally speaking, and if this was probably a year previous, I probably would have taken it a lot more personally.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing, right? It's really easy to be a dick on social media.
Yeah.
It's absolutely easy to be an internet piece of shit, asshole, dick, you name it. You can say whatever you want to say, and nobody's gonna come knocking on your front door and clock you because you wouldn't say that to someone in person.
Right.
Right? Anyways, I got trolled, and I was actually super proud of myself. I was like, I can't believe this. My post is getting attention. Right?
What a great mindset shift.
It's getting attention. Regardless of the trolling, it's getting comments, which is good for the algorithm. So I talked to my trolls. I'm like, I'm gonna go under the bridge with them and have a cup of tea.
I love that. That actually makes me rethink my thumbs down experience, because it's like, somebody actually took the time to do that. And how cool is it that Vanessa, everybody else is having this very kind of potentially a dark experience where we have to be super careful about having things trigger our addictive personalities. And Vanessa's like, I'm meeting people. It's amazing. I'm being able to share my story.
And she's for good reasons and stuff. I've got both ends of the spectrum where I've been on. I've gone down the far end rabbit hole. I've done the doom scrolling. I've gone to screw this shit attitude, you name it. I even wrote down, be careful of the dopamine validation syndrome, because I feel like that's a thing. And so is the dopamine dump after you get 3 good reels and you're like, I am awesome at social media, and you're not.
No, that's why I wanted to do this episode, is because I think we need to highlight the good and the bad.
Yeah, we do.
Steve and I met on the I Am Sober app. We literally would not be here if it wasn't for sober social media. This podcast wouldn't exist. We wouldn't know Robbie. We wouldn't be hanging out with Vanessa and Britt if it wasn't for sober social media. So it has a massive benefit. It just also has its dark side. And as alcoholics, none of us are good at finding balance. We're just inherently bad at it. And
Especially at the beginning.
Except apparently Vanessa, who has balance figured out.
Yeah, like I said, you could set a timer on it for it to close after an hour.
I was going to ask you that. Is that a function on Instagram itself? Is that okay?
You can find it in the settings. I don't remember how I found it. I just knew I didn't want to spend a lot of time on social media when I can actually get out of the house and go for a walk and do other stuff.
Yep.
So I'd rather live my life off the screen rather than looking down at my phone.
Instagram doesn't advertise that shit, Julie.
I know. I think that's really important though.
Like you
Um,
don't see that on one of the sponsored ads when you're going by. Make sure you don't hang out on here too long.
I want to talk really quick. Robbie was talking earlier about like he knows the algorithm. He's got everything that shows up on his Instagram is stuff he wants to see. I think, first of all, it's really important to curate your social media. Let your social media know what you like. Hit the like button on the posts that inspire you, that you want to see more of, whether it's the people or it's the topic or whatever. If you like things, like you actually hit the heart, then you're going to see more of that good stuff. And you can also tell Instagram and Facebook, I don't want to see stuff like this. Stop showing it to me. So when I first started my Instagram account and I posted a couple of things about drinking alcohol, Instagram was like, oh, this chick likes to drink. So I was getting all kinds of like pro alcohol stuff. And I had to tell it multiple times, like, stop, I don't want to see that anymore. And it got the picture. The other thing that I think is really important is everybody needs to use the unfollow feature like way more than we do. Because one thing that I'm really bad about with social media is I like to I want to say I like to. I'm just really guilty of comparing myself to other people. And if
I have that as a topic to talk about.
if I'm in a funky place emotionally, just for whatever reason in life, if I'm feeling a little bit insecure or I'm doing like the imposter syndrome thing or those normal feelings, like we all have those, if that's where I'm at and then I get on social media, I'm going to start comparing myself to people. And then it turns really unhealthy. And then I just like, I feed the insecurity monster, you know? And so I noticed pretty early on, there's certain people that I'll compare myself to harder and worse than others. And for sure, it's like it's jealousy, it's insecurity, it's things that I need to work on clearly. But Instagram isn't helping me. So I unfollow these people. If I don't generally get really good positive feelings when I see somebody's content, I unfollow them. It's not my job to keep following them. I don't owe them anything with my follow. So I'm pretty brutal when it comes to who I follow and then quickly unfollow if it's not feeding me exactly what I need to inspire me or keep me motivated or otherwise make me feel something positive.
I completely agree. There was a meme about, and I was just actually talking about this earlier this week, but and it resonated with me because it was like a girl saying, I was talking with my best friend. She was saying, "Oh my gosh, can you believe like all of these terrible things that are in our feeds about, politics in the world and all of these horrible things that are going on?" And it's like, and then there's me who, all I have are like funny cat reels of people who are doing, ridiculous things. And it's absolutely like my kids like laugh at like what my social media pops up because it's the cutest stuff that makes me laugh out loud. And they'll be like, she's watching her reels again, and it's like the cutest things. Like I can't believe there's like all of these compilations that are, I mean, talk about dopamine hits. There's nothing better when you're feeling down than to watch like all of these cute puppy things and baby goats and and it's all like and it's just so it's definitely what you make it. And you definitely have to have, a pulse on the algorithm, and you have to shut down that negative stuff and like immediately back out of that and say like, that's not for me. And then you won't have it.
Yeah. That is actually a coping mechanism or a coping skill that I teach clients. Like when everything's falling apart and you don't know what to do, open your phone and watch funny cat videos for 15 minutes. Like it will change everything about how you feel. So yeah, again, there's positives and negatives, right?
Yeah.
It's the intent on how you use it. Julie, you talked about comparing, and I wanted to bring that up because I think there's what happens when, this is what I think. What happens, and I'm going to speak from my own experience. Comparison hits places where I have disbelief in myself. So when I'm seeing things that trigger me to feel like I'm not doing good enough, and where I begin to feel like I'm faltering in my life, I have to ask myself, is this truth? If it is, I have work to do. Like I have to be very honest with myself there. If it isn't, why am I allowing that belief to affect my life? There's those two things there that are not social media's fault. It's how I respond to what I'm being given. And when I start comparing myself, the farther I go down the rabbit hole, the lower I like my self-worth goes. I start picking away at the pieces of myself that I'm not confident about. So if it's women are on social media are phenomenal at looking at other women and comparing themselves to, looks and stuff like that. It's a thing. I know it's a thing. And men do it too. Different ways, but comparison can exist on there. So, I mean, for me, if generally if I'm not in a good place, I don't need to go on social media. It's not going to be a place that, unless I go there with an intent to watch happy cat videos, which isn't something that I do, but
It could be. Just saying. We can add that to your toolbox, Steve.
Bad idea.
I can't wait for that text message, Julie.
We're all going to start sending them happy cat.
It's going to be shit.
Eating jokes. I'm telling you, the baby goats are very hot.
Yeah.
So with comparison, I did a lot of comparison back in my 20s. A lot of women, that's what we do. I'm not thin enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not productive enough. I have friends that are buying houses. I'm not. It was a lot of comparison that as I've gotten older, I've gotten the whole fuck it kind of concept where it's like, if I start to think about it, I shut that shit down. Because guess what? I'll never be the prettiest. I'll never be the thinnest. I'll never be the most athletic. I'll never be the best cook, and why am I going to compare myself to somebody else? There's only one me, and I can only do what's best for me. And then you also don't know how many people are looking at your social media saying, I want to be like that. They're doing this, so it goes both ways. But it's like every time if I catch my mind starting to go, oh, this person's working out 5 days out of the week and I haven't gotten off the couch in a week, I'm not going to feel bad about it because I can only handle myself and only compare myself to myself and not what other people are doing. So I had to kind of shut that shit down. And like every time I start to think that, it's like, nope.
We've done actually whole episodes on comparing ourselves to other people because it is something that is so easy to fall into, like churns up a bunch of shame and can drive people to want to drink in a hurry. So it's such a valid and important thing to talk about, and to learn how to overcome. I love that you've learned how to catch it because it takes a lot of practice to do that. You say it like, yeah, I just stopped, but I'm going to guess it took a shit ton of work for you to get to that point. So good on you because that's huge.
A lot of work, but I had to check myself because nobody else is going to do it,
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, when you're talking about so this is a good topic, I think, too, because comparing yourself. If you're aspiring to be like someone you see on social media, like what do they have, right? It could be a lot of things, but you don't have that. Sometimes that can be used as motivation too.
I've done that. How
Yeah.
can I, that person, he has something that I want. How can I get there?
Yeah, exactly. And that's, for me, that's what I seek and look for, is that positive way to go. Now, like our society tells us, people throwing money around, whatever, right? All kinds of things. That is luxurious. That's something to strive for, all that. But that's not what I want in my life. And it, kind of like Vanessa was saying, it's taken a while to, lose that ego on what I think I am and who I want to be or what drives me. But, more important is going after something that I can actually do. When you're coaches and you're working with people, their goals have to be attainable, right? You don't want them to pick goals that are not attainable right off the bat. And your job as a coach to be like, hey, that's not really going to happen in 6 months, whatever it may be. and be able to find inspiration from those people and look at it and go, maybe one day I can be like them. But it's so close to being also where, oh, look at this person. I wish I could be like them. Then your self worth just goes to crap because you're not really trying to get there or have the means to get there or whatever the situation is. Um, Comparing is something I haven't done in a while. I used to do that a lot when I was younger because of the relationship I was in. And, it was buy the house, buy picket fence. It was all the things to make this person feel fulfilled, which was all just, you know, s- superficial and like money and class. And I used to hate that. And, growing up from nothing, then making something, whatever out of you want out of your life is a positive. And I hate when people, this is something I have to deal with my daughter on a basis with social media is she'll tell me, oh, I watch so and so and their stuff. So I'm like, do you want to be like them? And I have to check her to make sure that she is not getting her self worth or comparing herself to these people that who knows how they got there. So I'm really glad you guys brought that up because comparing is not something that gets talked about a lot, and it can be touchy for a lot of us.
Okay, Julie, I know you want to talk about AI, but I'm going to hop on the comparison thing one more time.
Yep.
I'm going to tell a quick story because one of the things that we see on social media, especially, is a snippet of somebody's life. Literally, if it's a reel, it is. I mean, it can be literally edited, but you don't. We come up with these stories based on one picture, one moment, and a caption that's written, and that's it. So, story. Friend went with his family to go and go. I think it was like a pumpkin patch or whatever it was, and they were going out to do the thing, and he went with another friend. That friend and their family. It was chaos. Absolutely chaos. They took a picture as a family photo, posted it on social media. Everyone was
Before they even went and did the thing. I remember this story.
Yeah, before they even went to thing, posted it on social media. The caption was great. We had such a great time. We did this and we did that. And that friend was there and he said it was a shit show, right? They didn't have fun. The kids were nuts. Like the parents were arguing. Like there was nothing that represented that picture. So I think it's important to remember that whatever image it is we're seeing, it's a snapshot and a take of someone's life that they are choosing to share with us in a perspective they want us to see.
Yeah.
Okay, go.
I'm gonna rant about AI really quick, and I'm gonna pull this into the comparing thing because I think it's really important, and it also really impacts our experience in social media. And I don't think people realize how much AI, artificial intelligence, so like ChatGPT, is affecting their experience on social media. So before like we even talk about like the words, there are people who take their picture. You can literally take a photo of themselves doing whatever, wherever, no makeup on, send it through some AI generator thing, and it spits out this perfect image of you with a smaller nose and thinner arms and longer hair and like the chiseled jawline and whatever, and that's the picture people are posting on social media.
Are you trying to say something about my jawline?
You should chisel it, Steve. No, I'm just kidding.
The only book is in a toolbox.
Can I just tell you, there are women who actually have their jawline reconstructed. I didn't know that was a thing till recently, thanks to Instagram. Regardless, people are actually taking all of their pictures or many of their pictures. It's not even just filters anymore. They're literally uploading a photo to an AI program that redoes the entire photo, changes them completely, and that's what they're putting out on social media. So we're comparing ourselves not just to airbrushing anymore, but literally AI generated photographs of other people. And I don't think most people realize how common that is. Like 50% of professional headshots of people in their 20s and 30s are AI generated headshots where they took a snap, like a selfie of themselves, put it into this thing, and it looks like, a pro headshot. It's not. And I think people don't realize that that's happening. More than that, so like as a writer, I put a lot of effort into the content that I write when it's on social media, even on my blog, even like writing show notes for this podcast. Like I put effort into making it as useful and as valuable as possible. There are a huge number of people who ask ChatGPT to write this for them. You can literally go to ChatGPT and say, like, my ideal audience is sober women that are in their 40s that are, what, blah, 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 blah. Write me the words for a reel and then write a caption that's going to inspire them and get them to follow me. And ChatGPT will spit everything out. And all they have to do is slap it on a 7-second video and put it on Instagram. And everybody is like, oh my God, they're so inspiring. And like, I don't think most people understand how often that's happening. I'm seeing ChatGPT responses as comments on, like, somebody will post, I'm having a really hard time. My husband drank a lot last night and I don't know how to deal with it and whatever. Somebody will literally go into, and I've used ChatGPT enough for other things that I recognize it. But they'll type into ChatGPT, my husband drank a lot, blah, blah, blah. What should I do? ChatGPT spits out this response, and you can tell because a lot of times, like, there's sections that are bolded in the comment response, and then they paste that in there. And that's it. That's the answer. And I feel like people don't realize how much AI is affecting their lives and the things they're reading and the content they're consuming, like, more and more and more. And if you're involved in, like, social media marketing, and if you follow coaches and like, not all of them, there are some great ones, but so many of them are like, so just put this into ChatGPT, it'll give you everything you need, and then you can move on. And so I guess I just want people to recognize that, like, that is impacting the content you're consuming way more than you realize. That's giving you opinions of people that aren't even them, that aren't even their words. And so we'll read all of this stuff that people say, and it, like, nobody's that perfect, right? But if you have access to an app that's going to tell you exactly what to say every time, you're going to come across as perfect like that. So I think it's an important piece of, I don't know, information that more people need, especially as
I'm just
you.
learning this now. So I'm like, what? It's kind of like that's sad because you don't know who's actually being authentic and who's just plugging it into a machine and it's just doing that for you. Like that's sad. That's definitely sad.
Well, and where people like you, yeah, go ahead.
No,
I was
you
just
go.
gonna say that's where people like you, Vanessa, are really valuable because you're writing your real story. You're not spitting out miscellaneous facts. So we need less people like you. Yes. Go. Viva.
Don't know. That's
So Alvaron Alexander says, sign me up. Mumbling.
I got. Well, and so my 16-year-old was saying, because I was like, okay, so like, what should I type here? And she's like, no, you just, tell chat GP, whatever to do that. And there was a time that I worked with somebody when this was just starting to come out, and he had Chat GPT do a part of his book, and I was like, this is crazy, because as an author I mean, you make yourself crazy about when you're about to submit your manuscripts, and you freak out thinking that all of these different things, and it's so crazy that that is now, going to be something that people are looking for because, or trying to make sure that we prevent somehow, who knows how. But with her age, she was like, yeah, you can feel it. You can feel your creativity literally diminishing. Like if she was asked to make a caption now, she would be like, completely done for. And because she just relies on ChatGPT, she just wants to be able to tell it what to do, and then voila. And so that age group that is now in middle school and high school, which are what my kiddos are, they're, up against this very simple tool that can be used that is, beneficial, but also just like we were talking about with the double-edged sword. I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see what the detrimental effects are in terms of, I think, creativity is like a muscle. If you're not going to use it, you're going to lose it. And so it's going to be very interesting to see what the outcomes are if this generation is just relying on that.
Okay. So now that you're talking about this, I had this thought last night, actually. And it was about this same theme that you were talking about, Britt. ChatGPT is the new calculator. How many people,
Oh, yeah.
when we didn't have a calculator, we did paper math, right?
Yeah.
We have these things now, and instead of doing paper math, we just use a calculator. It spits the number out for us. What is ChatGPT? You give it an input, like numbers, and then it spits out the thing, your answer that you end up using for it. Like, I mean, that's what I know that because I don't really know how to do paper math anymore because I use this thing.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's just, I thought about that comparison last night and I'm like, God damn, that's it. That's exactly what is going to happen.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The creativity piece is like, we're going to lose the creativity, right? I have a friend who was in the middle of a hard conversation with a significant other over text. And when she got to a point where she really didn't know how to respond, she asked ChatGPT. And that's the response she sent. And so now we're not losing just creativity, we're losing like emotional intelligence, right? Because now we're not even having to communicate for us. We're just like, ChatGPT, what should I say to this? I'm not sure where to go from here. And you don't even have to work through the tough conversation and work through the words that you want to say and actually express your feelings because you have something to do it for you. My daughter told me the other day, she asked ChatGPT how to tell me that she kissed a boy. That's how I got that information, was ChatGPT told her what to say. So we're losing the ability to communicate like real humans too, depending on, and yeah, I realize we're like past the social media thing and now we're on a tangent, but
Oh yeah,
so I think it's really important stuff. Anyways,
like
Robbie had something to say. Go for it, dude.
Me and my conspiracy theorist said, anyways, it's really hard to know what's real and what's not. And the quicker for myself I put that on, it's easier for me. We've been doing this for a long time. Since we've, been on this planet. People can lie. They can put on a really good show, all that stuff. You don't know if their emotions are real, if their feelings are real, if they're fake. People have been doing this beginning of time. So for me, growing up the way I did and some of the stuff I went through, I had to kind of almost, deal with this at a younger age where, my father would be yelling at me crazy and wake up in the next morning and like nothing happened, that type of thing. So for me, I guess it's just like, I don't know if I believe this person is real or fake or what's really going on. And I know it's helped me, but it's just now with where it's going, like AI can write a song for you and you could say, make it sound like Elvis Presley. And it'll make a song that sounds like Elvis Presley with whatever subject you gave it, right? We're going into this place where now nothing is more not real, if that makes any sense. And what is real is what we have to identify as real. And, for me, it's like once we identify what is real, you got to hold it really close.
Mm-hmm.
I just wrote down, it's funny you said that. Authenticity, real, comes at a premium, I think, on social media. If you find it, hold on to it. I might as well just wrap this up unless you guys got anything else to say. Britt, Vanessa? All right. Social media has its dark side and its light side. And I think we've shared both sides of that here in this podcast with the connection piece and finding community and using it in a healthier way, catching ourselves. Even with AI, what is your intent? And I think that's what it comes down to, even with social media. What is my intent? And then if I can come back to a place where it's true and real and honest to me, then go with it. I mean, you're going to learn what's going to work for you and what isn't. It is definitely a dopamine generating machine. And it's important for all of us to make sure that we take care of our own mental health, however it's affecting us. I know I've had my times where I've been so hopped up on my own dopamine, wondering why my chest is so freaking tight. And that was because I spent a good chunk of my day checking my likes and getting way too much dopamine. Anyways, I digressed. Curate your own social media. Unfollow when you don't. It's okay to unfollow when you don't like someone or someone's content. There's so many of us out there, it's ridiculous, like the population of the world. Not everyone's for us, and that's just do it if it's good for you. I want to say thank you, Vanessa, and thank you, Britt, and thank you, Robbie, for having this awesome conversation and sharing your stories and your thoughts and your experiences with us. Looking forward to seeing you all again. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for joining us today. Make sure you subscribe, and seriously, make sure you subscribe and follow us at Through the Glass Recovery Podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. We release them every Monday, and we'll see you next week.